Hello, everyone, again. I hope everyone's here. The one person that's missing is Kathy, so I'm going to acknowledge her. You all have met her, and when she gets here, she'll get here. So at any rate, the first thing I wanted to do was thank people. Oh, there Kathy is. All right. So the first thing I wanted to do was acknowledge people that were amazing at helping me get this together. I could not have done it without them. And here come two of them, Kathy and Erica, and also Jean. Jean has been more helpful than I can even tell you. So come on up, Jean. Come on up, Erica. I want to get photos. Okay, and I have a little something for you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Kathy, stay up here for just a minute. Okay, so. So every year we have what we call mindful awards. It's people that show extreme mindfulness in their life. They make their passion taking care of other people. In this particular case, it's taking care of the animals of Mexico. So would you please come up, you two, Fred and Lori? Part of being mindful is being in the present moment for yourself and others. So I wanted to give this to Fred and Lori and Marge on behalf of the Friends of Mexican Animals. They give me some numbers here about what you guys have accomplished.
Well, we got started here in Manzanillo about 6 years ago, Lori and I, and then we joined a group called Friends of Mexican Animal Welfare. And they opened up a clinic in Manzanillo 4 years ago, Lori? Yeah. And so in that 4 years, we have sterilized over 6,000 animals. And last year we did 1,917 animals, and over 700 of those were done free, gratis, for people in the local communities that just don't have the money to pay for that kind of thing. So those are some of the numbers.
Yeah, and we actually, on behalf of all of the authors, many who are here today, How Big Can You Dream, made donation of goods in close to $1,000 to the association in the name of the authors of the book. So I want you to have this, and there's an acknowledgement inside. And these are special gifts from me for the two of you and Marge.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to acknowledge Kathy because she's been a really big donor and a supporter of this group as well as a number of other animal activist groups throughout the country and in California and here in Mexico. So this is for you. So. It's always great to acknowledge people that do great things, so thank you all. And oh, I have something for that. Fred, if you want to put it in there, it might be a little easier to get back to Manzanillo.
Thank you, Vicki.
There you go, and that's something to hold it together. Okay, thank you all for the contribution. They just work tirelessly for a cause that's really important. And there's another person here that I would like to acknowledge, and that is Jean. Jean, come on up. I also have a mindfulness award for you for all the work that you do with sick children. Jean is actually Dr. Jean Farish, and she does amazing things for kids. Okay, but wait just a minute. Does anyone have kids that might appreciate a teddy bear, a blanket, and a really good book? The activity book? Okay, here you go. Does anyone have someone in Spanish that would appreciate a teddy bear? All right. Do you want to take that over to her? Thanks. Okay, so we'll see if, are they still taking pictures? No, they're done. Oh, here they are. Okay, so there's another group of people that help us make books bestseller. So anyone who's been a recipient of a bestseller in the room has also benefited by our board. We have an advisory board that does book reviews, buys books, tells people about your books when we push it to bestseller. We have about 50 people across the world that do this, and we have some of those people here. Susie, do you want to come up or do you want to stay down there? Okay, Erica, can you help her maybe? Okay, Linda, Beth, are any of our other board members here? I think it's the 3 this year. Little gifts for you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It matches
Thank
your
you.
dress.
It does.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're so welcome. Erica, can you help? Okay, so we did a really wonderful journal book again this year called How Big Can You Dream? Because I really believe in dreams. I really believe in them, and so many people, by making your dreams come true, have made my dreams come true, because I live for what we do for you guys and watching you succeed and watching you bloom. Like when I was looking at the video today, it's like incredible to see what happens to people when they birth a book and then they take it and they do whatever their individual desire is with that book to make their dream come true. So everybody who was in How Big Can You Dream, please come up on stage.
Letters, yes, please go that way. Okay.
letters of faith, yes, please. The short ones.
Let me do the,
Yeah, the idea.
let me give the officer, when you're here, so when they want your picture.
Va ella a cagar eso y ya luego lo
For Jack.
Thank you.
For Chrissy. For Gary. Okay, for Jax. For Jean. Laura. Oh, here, this is okay. And Dyer. Melinda. Ronna. Leah. Great, can you get one? And Susie, here's Susie. We'll get it, we'll get it. So, I think we need to start one too. Sarah. Yeah, just, okay, Victoria.
We can just have her pick one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I always end up messing up pieces of paper, so I'm not gonna put it over your neck this time, I'm gonna give it to you, if you put it over your neck. These are the individual awards. Thank you so much. And you can go ahead and put it around your neck if you like, I just don't wanna mess up your hair. If I have an outage, she's very good at advertising this out. Okay, so now maybe we can ask you, Rose.
We're gonna block the letters. We're gonna block the letters.
Well, I read it have to be.
Quiere que esté ahí.
Well, that's, yeah.
You should be in the back row, your hair is very big. Her hair took over the whole movie screen.
Gary, you goes that way.
Really? I'll be the hobbit? Stand here?
I'm the only one in the public, so thank you. Happy Ruby, yay!
Oh, and Erica, for those that had How Big Can You Dream. If you can raise your hands, I also brought a book for each one of you. And I think there are more. Anybody else need a book? Raise your hand if you were in the book. Oh, there's some back there. Gary. Does everyone that was in there have a book now? Okay, everyone's got their book? All right. Okay, so in addition to trying to put out really great books for our authors, we always like to get critical opinion too on our books. So when we put out a book, not only do we donate money on behalf of our authors to a charity, but we also submit the book for critical acclaim in the way of a book award. And so our book last year was My Journal, My Journey, and it won a Book Excellent Award finalist position. So everyone who is in My Journal, or My Journey, My Journal, please come up.
Congratulations, ladies.
Oh, take a picture.
I have luggage restrictions.
I know. I hope this doesn't cost you overweight charge.
Thank you.
Okay, so I love it when people actually commit to the idea of doing their own book. It's just, there's nothing more exciting, nothing more freeing. I think a lot of the authors here who have had their own books taken to bestseller can attest to that, which is really a wonderful thing. So I wanted to call up a couple of people that are working on their books to just talk about it a little bit. We talked about your book earlier, but Judy, are you here? Come up and just tell us a little bit about your book. Your book that has been made but is being remade, that's going to be a series of 5.
Series of 5, right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. So my book is called Sunshine Before the Dawn, and it is part of a series about ascension, about the truth of the creation of the human being. And it really began for me back in 2010, and I was living in the Finger Lakes in New York State, in a house that overlooked a lake. And as I was sitting there one night, sipping my glass of red wine, I saw a big ball of light in the sky above the lake. And it was just hovering in the sky, but it was too big to be a plane, and it was quite low. And as I watched this, as you know, I'm a channel, so as I watched this ball of light, energy from that light came and it hit me in the throat, and it just about knocked me over. And I telepathically heard a voice in my head say, "We're coming soon to tell you a story, and we want you to write it down and share it with people." So that was September 2010, and then in January 2011, I woke up and it was the depths of winter and it was jolly cold and snow on the ground, and I saw this light again, and I got this voice say, "It's time to write." So that first day I resisted a bit because it was cold and it was 5 a.m. But the next day I got up and I made some coffee and I sat at the computer. And the first words that I wrote were "The Dreamers." And the story of Vol was the story of the Galactic Council of this Milky Way galaxy. And it started 100,000 years ago. And 100,000 years ago, the Galactic Council and the star nations, the evolved Christed, which means of God, star nations within this galaxy, had a problem concerning Earth. And their problem was that the existing indigenous beings of Earth at that time did not have the required genetic potential to be reached by forces of divine light. And so they couldn't uplift the Earth because the Earth had fallen. You know, there's such a thing, you might have heard of the fall, some of you. So the fall was when Tara, which was the previous name of Earth, contracted energetically in consciousness, but also vibrationally, and became third-dimensional Earth. And so there were more evolved beings on Tara, and we go back hundreds of thousands of years, who over a very long period of time regressed in their evolutionary capacity. And so at this time, 100,000 years ago, the existing beings on Earth could not be uplifted unless they did something really special. And what they did that was so special is they decided to create a new advanced race, an avatar race, a race which was contributed to by the genetic code of the more evolved and advanced star nations within this galaxy, like Sirius, Pleiades, Arcturus. And so they gave their genetic code to the creation of this new species called the human, because hue, like hue, is a sound, a vibration that means of God or God. And the human being was seeded in the place on Earth in the Pacific, which was Mu, or Lemuria. And Mu, that word actually means the motherland or the mother. So this continent of Mu that some of you may have heard of, which coexisted along with Atlantis very long time ago, became the mothering place or the nurturing place for all life upon the earth. And recently I've been reading quite a few books on Mu that have been written by an archaeologist, not a woo-woo person. And these books have really confirmed scientifically and archaeologically that there was very ancient life on this planet that goes way back many thousands of years. I've also worked at the Bosnian pyramids and taken people to the Bosnian pyramids. And the Bosnian pyramids are very ancient. They've found fossilized leaves between the blocks of these pyramidal stones that sheath this amazing hill in Bosnia. And these leaves have been carbon dated at being 30,000 years old or older. So there were very advanced civilizations on this planet way before we think they existed. So anyway, going back to my book, called Sunshine Before the Dawn, it's actually a love story. Because when I wrote The Dreamers and I started writing about what the Galactic Council was saying, I got told this is a story of human evolution. It is also a story of love. So it's a story of the love relationship between the woman who created or put forward to the Galactic Council of the Milky Way 100,000 years ago that they should create the human. And she was a woman called Essayenia from Sirius. And it's a story about her ongoing love story between her and the leader of the Galactic Council, a man called Mostenia from Lyra, which is 12th dimensional. And so they could not be together because the dimensional distance between their two vibrations of those two stars was too great, because Sirius is 5th or 6th dimensional and Lyra is 12th dimensional. So what this really means is that in order to advance all star systems and civilization within this galaxy and beyond, because I now work with energy from beyond the beyond, which is coming from the heart center of a new, more expanded creation matrix that I was told to call the diamond. These are 22 galaxies. And so this is the first story that I wrote 7 years ago, is Sunshine Before the Dawn. But the stories that I have to write, these 5 books that I have to write, are the stories of ongoing creation and the ongoing story of Essayenia, the soul of Essayenia, and her incarnations as she evolves and incarnates on the planet. Because really Essayenia's story, which is my story, is the story of all of us. Because we all came from the stars to be here now to help humanity and the earth advance. And so that's the story. Thank you.
Okay, and I thought, let's have Felicia come up and just briefly share for a couple minutes about your upcoming book.
Well, ladies, I feel like I've already told you all earlier, but hey, it's so nice I got to do it twice. So anyway, I think I've discussed with you all growing up poor as a young black girl in North Carolina, having to come home after school and chop wood, build a wood stove fire, and I just thought that was just the worst thing in the world. My father was a brick mason. I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and hauling bricks and mixing mortar, that was not what I had in mind for a career. And I knew early on that I wanted to be a hairdresser since I was 3 years old. We also had a garden that I had to chop in the garden, pull the weeds, water the garden before we would go to school. And as I was chopping in those gardens, I was just saying, oh God, I can't wait until I get big. You just wait. I'm going to do hair, and I'm going to have my own beauty salon, and I'm never going to build another wood stove fire, and I'm never going to chop wood. And when the boys see me, they won't be laughing and picking at me because I'm pushing a wheelbarrow full of bricks. Fast forward, when I was 12 years old, I was the oldest of the children, and I always had to babysit on Saturdays. And my aunt would say, now, Felicia, when we come home today from the yard sales, I'm gonna pay you. And I'd be like, oh boy, I had that entrepreneurial mind. So I would figure, well, she pays me some money, I'm gonna buy me some Kool-Aid, a bag of sugar, and some cups, and I'm gonna sell freeze cups to the kids in the neighborhood, go to the bread house, get cookies, and then I could sell and get hair products for my baby dolls so I could design the styles. Well, long story short, fast forward, she said, now, Felicia, I know you think that I'm telling you a story every week. She said, but I promise you, when we come home today, I'm going to put some money in your pocket. Oh, boy, the happiest little girl you could ever see. I'm looking at the clock. I wonder how much am I going to get? I wonder how much are they going to give me? And I would tell my sisters, y'all just do what you're going to do, because they'll be pulling up, but you got to sit down and act good for when Mom and Aunt Wilhelmina comes. Here they come. bag full of old toys from the yard sale. I'm like, I don't see him. She said, Felicia, don't worry about it. I got you. So she started passing out the little baby dolls from the yard sales to my sisters and the toys. And, you know, you couldn't be disrespectful back during that time. So I couldn't show that. Where's the money? Where is the money? So I just wait patient. She said, now, Felicia, I know I told you I was going to give you some money. She said, but guess what? I got you something that's better than money. I said, Mina, there's nothing better than money. She said, oh, yes, it is. She went in this old torn bag and she pulled out a 1964 cosmetology book. Oh, my God. It was better than money. That cosmetology book had a little illustrator in it called Charlie. Charlie taught me how to perm hair, which I use soap and old curlers. He taught me how to cut hair, color, and so I was 12. So by the time I graduated from high school, I was ready on my way to beauty school. I went to beauty school. I won the first place competition, and fast forward, I am the award winner of 25 hairstyling competitions from London, England, Chicago, and I told Mom, I said, Mama, you just wait and see. I was in her face. When I get big, I'm going to London, England, where the fashions begin, and I'm just going to do all the hair, and I'm going to be a Miss Beauty Queen, and I'm going to teach hair and be all over the world. And she would say, yeah, Felicia, yeah. You're so young. I'm sure you'll change your mind. And I will hold, no, I'm not, Mama. You wait and see. You wait and see. But sure enough, I did all of those things. And the other thing that I said as being a little girl, I wanted to be award-winning stylist, a beauty queen. I am Miss Shaw University, 2007. From maybe the age of 13 to 18, I was in maybe 8 or 9 pageants, and I only got first runner-up one time. But at the age of about 45, I went to college to get my degree in business, and I was voted by my colleagues as Miss Shaw University. Oh my, 25 years later. Woo, look, okay, that's not a queen. Look, 25 years later, I got my crown. I got to sit on the floats and wave as the people go by. So that just shows you, never give up on your dreams because anything could happen. And the last little piece, while I was out there chopping in those gardens, and when I get big, I want to help people not to get poor. I want to help them to be able to live the life that they want to live, because they can do it if they just put in the work. And voila, I end up owning my own business. And after 36 years of hairdressing, now I am transitioning into helping people to live the life of their dreams. And I'm starting off with Vicki and this book, How Big You Can Dream, so I know it is meant for me. Isn't it though? I thank you all kindly.
And she will be back next year with Money Talks, all about teaching kids about how to manage money and be successful. Okay, so Millie, do you want to come up and talk just a few minutes about your book? Because that's another bestseller for this coming year. Oh my gosh. I know, we'll give you some help because it's a little steep for you are brave in those shoes.
Hi. Well, I've mostly told my story to all of you, but I guess I'll tell it again. Well, I'm Millie. I was born in Mexico. I've lived in Mexico mostly all my life. I lived in New York and in Oxford for a couple of years, but I'm sort of from here. And my story really begins when I got really sick, like Linda over there. I had lupus too, and I had such a virulent attack that in only 1 week, my body was completely ravaged. So by the time I got to the doctor, he told me, basically, you have 2 days to live, at most. And I felt so ill and horrible that I was actually thankful for that. I said, finally, this torture is going to end. But I had a 2-month-old baby whom I just given birth to. So that was a good incentive to stay alive. But of course, the doctors, as Linda was telling, they give you this list of no's that your life is just going to be completely miserable. I was doomed to a dark room because sun, even artificial light, was painful on my skin, as if it was acid. I couldn't be with people because I was on very strong immunosuppressants and corticoids. So I couldn't move. I didn't have muscles. It had eaten all my muscles. All my joints were swollen, huge. My skin was falling off in pieces. I had no hair, and it had started attacking my central nervous system. So that was where the doctor said, that's it, you're going to die, because the central nervous system is one of our very important systems. So I was in bed for about 6 months, unable to move. I had to have a nurse just carry me around and bathe me and basically everything. Feed me all these drugs they were giving me, because I had all the basic drugs and all the drugs for all the side effects of the principal drugs, which is always fun because they have a lot of side effects. They ruin your kidneys, they ruin your liver, they just make a mess out of you. So one day I was lying in my bed, completely flatlined. I couldn't feel anything. I think the worst part was being unable to feel. No love, no anger, nothing. They used to bring my baby, I remember that very clearly, and I just looked at him as I would look at that. It was like, okay. No energy to feel. So one day I could feel anger. I started to get angry. That was my first feeling. So I'm really not fighting with any emotions, because emotions are like the salt and pepper in life. If without them, you're just dead, basically, just lying in a bed there as that. So I felt anger. And when I felt anger, I tried to move one finger. I remember looking at my finger with intent, like saying, move, didn't move. Move, didn't move. Days went by like this until I could move the finger. And then the hand, and then the arm. And then I could reach over to my night table and bring a glass of water and throw it all over myself because I didn't have the strength to actually drink the water. And this was a very slow progression. Nobody noticed it, except me. I had nothing better to do. So finally, one day I could turn over in bed and put my legs down on the floor. And the pain was just excruciating. It was like 1,000 pins coming up into my feet. So I started that crying. You reminded me of this, being the victim and just crying, oh, this is so horrible. But then I got to the anger and I said, okay, this is something I'm feeling. I'm going to anchor myself to that. And next day I could turn in bed, put my feet down, go with the pain, and just get up for about 1 second before crashing back down into bed. But little by little, I could very slowly regain a little bit of control. And the day I could actually walk to my own bathroom, I grabbed all the medicines, threw them in the garbage, and said, this is not going to go anymore. I refuse to live like this. I'd rather die. And of course, my family was in tears, and they were shouting because the doctors had said that if I did not take the drugs, I would surely die. And they thought I was trying to commit suicide or something, that I had chosen to die. But no, I had actually chosen to live properly. And that's where my whole search for energetic and alternative means began. So I tried many things, everything. I tried the snake skin and the shaman and everything they could put in front of me, I tried. And everything that worked, I started to study, little by little. So by now I have like 10 or 12 or more different therapies that I do because I started studying them because they worked on me. So through the years, I sort of thought took me 14 years to be better. Now I'm completely drug-free, I don't have any medicines, no symptoms. I know myself well enough so that if any symptom, because lupus really doesn't ever go away, it's just For me, it's just a hypersensitivity of the immune system. So every time I get stressed, or every time I get hormonal, or every time I sort of go out of my way, I start to feel symptoms. But I know myself well enough to stop that in its tracks before it starts. So what I gotten to do is to know, as all these beautiful ladies were saying, that we are actually in control of our lives. We decide. We decide to stop stressing. We decide what we want to do with our lives. And if I could get out of that deathbed and be here completely drug-free, dancing the night away with my friends, anybody can do it. And it's a decision. It's so true. You decide that you want to live. So I wrote a first book. I gave a copy of it to a lot of people here. And it's called Befriending the Wolf, because I had to befriend my illness to be able to get through it. Because it was a part of me. It was just my immune system is very hyper-reactive. Because I am very hyper-reactive. I'm hypersensitive. So I had to come to terms with my own sensitivity, know how to protect myself, know how to take care of myself, become very self-aware in order to control my own body and my symptoms. So that's my first book. And then, as synchronicity would have it, an email from Vicky, whom I didn't know, popped up somewhere in November this year. And it said it was your promotion for the holidays. And I said, okay, that's a good gift for me for the holidays, because my book is it was published in 2016, and it's not doing so well, so maybe Vicky can help me. So I signed up and went off in vacation. And in January, I had a call with you. And she said, well, Linda had a book on lupus, and then she rewrote it into the immune system, which is a larger public. Why don't you do another book, instead of revamping that one and making that one a bestseller? Why don't you redo it and just go for the immune system or for the health? So I said, okay, and then she invited me here. So I'm here as your public, as your enthusiastic public. And I hadn't met you at all, so I came here to meet her and to sort of feel her out. That's the truth. You did, with flying colors. But I've already bought the program, but I have no idea what I was doing. So I'm here and I'm rethinking the whole thing, not only rewriting that book, but really, I have a lot of information and a lot of people I have treated throughout the years. I've been a therapist now for 20 years. And I have so many stories and so many different therapies that I'm rethinking the whole thing. So I think it's going to be a completely new book. It has to include my story because, well, that's the beginning point. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about taking this to other people and how it has worked for other people, because that was an experiment I made also. If it works for me, it has to work for other people in order for it to be valuable. So I've worked with many people through the years, even groups of chronically ill patients, and the exercises and the things we've come up with together have really made a difference in their lives. So I think that's what the new book is going to be about, but I still don't know for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now I feel like an award winner too.
Can someone maybe help her? Those shoes are just amazing. Okay. So I don't think there's anyone else here that we're working with them on their book that isn't bestseller yet, right? I think that we have everyone's story. So now let's get to those who did become bestseller this year. Chrissy Betts, you want to come up on stage? What I'd love to hear from the authors is just like 2 or 3 minutes about what they hope the book will do for their readers.
Some of you have heard my story, but just briefly what I hope will impact my readers is what if married couples with children who start to have stress and dysfunction in their marriage, What if they forgive? What if they heal from their marriage? What will it do for their posterity, that generation, the next generation, and the next generation? Because I believe that stronger families create a safer society. And the more we have a breakup of families, I think our society gets weaker and weaker. So that's what I hope. What if something I share, no matter how bad or sucky your marriage might be, what if you learn to forgive? What if you learn to focus on the amazing things that made you fall in love in the first place? What will that do? That's what I hope.
That's beautiful. Our next author is Gary Stewart. AI, Ancestral Intelligence.
Okay. Well, no short order to save the human species. So I would say it was really good to do because I have a bunch of books out, but none of them were bestseller. And the older and more mature I get, the more confidence I have to make bold statements. And my wish is that everyone on this planet really appreciate the gift of life. All the people that toiled and suffered for centuries so we could be here today. Can we look back with appreciation rather than judgment? And I really feel that would change the entire trajectory of the human species. And one thing is I'm an avid activist against racism, sexism, misogyny. And I think if we all understand that we all bleed red, and we're one human species, we're one human family on one planet, including the planet, not against the planet, to survive and strive to new heights as a species on Earth, respecting everything, the past, the planet, ourselves, especially women. So I think it's time for women to step up, and all of us stand for Mother Earth. Thank you.
Gary. Up, over here a little bit. And the book cover up by your head.
I like there.
A good friend. No,
No,
next
I
to
know.
your head.
Wait. How about this way? Here, I got that, and
Okay.
great.
Okay, our next author is Jerry Olin. You've seen a lot about her book, and it's Grandma's Buttons.
Hi, it was my dream that there are a lot of us that are from the baby boomer time period, and there's so many of us that are in the process of taking care of other family members. And through my book, I'm hoping that not only are families able to do it, to take care of their loved ones themselves, but they're able to enjoy that process. While doing taking care of my late husband's grandmother, it was such a joy for our family. It built our family strength and love for one another, and it taught my children how to be strong adults. And it was such a growing, loving experience. She came when they were little and stayed with us for 12 years. We expected her only for 2 months, and we had 12 years, and we enjoyed every bit of it. That's what I'm hoping people get from my book, is the joy of loving someone till they pass on.
Cannell, many of you, well, you all saw her today with her husband speaking, and they're embarking on a whole new adventure. And part of that is every year, San Miguel has a wonderful writers conference. And so it is happening next week. As a matter of fact, some of you may have noticed it on your confirmation page that there was an option if you wanted to go as a group to San Miguel and extend your stay, could go there possibly as well. But anyway, they're off there, so I will receive her reward for her, and we'll see that she gets it by mail, as well as the two that disappeared somewhere. So, Linda Dyer, Be Do Have. The birthday girl in red.
Well, I guess I shared that today, but Be Do Have, the purpose of that book was to get people to love themselves and to really embrace who you are and why you were put here on the planet. And when you do that, you have no idea how many people you affect. And they, you know, that law of attraction is real. It's right there every day. Your children, in fact, are one of the best recipients of you doing that for you. So my book was to share with people that the strategy of Do Have Be, Do Have Be, is for others, it's not for you. And so when you embrace that being and do the activities towards who you want to be, then you can have whatever you want. It's really enlightening, it's calming, and yet it's exciting at the same time. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Melinda Kapur, This Time, Another Place, a book of poems.
Thank you. This little book of poetry, This Time, Another Place, it came about by really being where I am now, but elsewhere. And I think as we get older, especially, I can only speak for myself, but I think it is true for many, that we look longingly at the past and think, wow, you know, I didn't know what I had then. And I started to think that way, and I realized just how grateful we have to be for this moment. So my little book here is about memories of the past, longingly looking back, appreciating what I had, reliving them in the moment, but also being so present now. And that's what it's about, being mindful of the moment, being appreciative of the moment, and loving where you are. So thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, my dear.
And Rana, Women Who Want More.
Well, you've all listened to me for 45 minutes already talking about about a story and how to empower us. So obviously, as I said, you know, I transitioned from the medical field into one that's so much more holistic. And I had a story to tell, but it was beyond my story, and it was to so many more people, not just women, but to, as Linda so eloquently said, to be who you are, to stand in your own power, to no longer be a victim. And from a very practical point of view, take it out of just us spiritual people, which I recognize that we are all like that here today, but not to be turned away by that and recognize that you don't have to be spiritual to be in the now, and therefore take it into a wider audience and stand in our power and be ourselves. The answer's always within us.
Welcome. Okay, so we come out with this, what's turned into this massive version of Published Magazine now once a year. And we did it because we were doing it quarterly, and it was just so much more meaningful, I think, to have a whole year of our authors in here. So it's just a wonderful magazine, tons of interviews. And Linda, I'd like to have you have a copy for your birthday. This was her interview for the Age book.
Oh,
Age is an attitude. Yeah.
oh, this is my daddy's. I wrote a book called Age is an Attitude, and it was all really about my dad and the work of Dr. Mario Martinez, who travelled around the world to study the people in the blue zones. But my dad gave me the inspiration because he just said, you're only as old as the women you feel elegant. You're only as old as you feel. And age is just an attitude. So, God love you.
And I think this is the first time. Is there anyone else?
Anyone else that we did a bestseller with that I lost the certificate somehow between Manzanillo, 25 minutes away in here? Okay, well, I feel really bad about this, and we will see that you get your certificates, but I want to make sure that you get a copy of this. Yeah, there you go. The certificate will be coming. And Jazz, for you too, and yours will be coming as well. I'm going to have to say the dog ate my homework, but he's only 4 pounds. So fantastic. Well, I have to say that this has been so enjoyable, and for all of our authors from out of town that have been with us for 3 days, we're going to have one last dinner tonight, so that's going to be really exciting. It's going to be in about an hour and 10 minutes in a place called Antonio's, so you have about an hour, a little over an hour off to recuperate, go have a margarita. Someone recommended a margarita today. So that's right. Yes, you're the responsible one. So go have fun, have a drink. If you want to go back, you all look gorgeous, but if you want to go back and do any change of clothes or anything like that, you're welcome to do that. And we will meet in the restaurant called Antonio's. It's right around the corner from the where we had lunch, on the second floor down with all the restaurants. So, and to all of our friends from Milwaukee and Barra, thank you so much for joining us. It's just, it warms my heart, especially being a new expat full-time. So I thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing your wonderful event with me that made it possible for so many local authors to be able to join us. So safe trip home, and everyone else, we will see you for dinner.